Hey, it's Jeff. Welcome back to another video. I thought I'd take a break from the outside heat. It's like 34 degrees today, so I'm going to do some plant chores here in the basement to take advantage of the air-conditioned cool air. So I'm going to be watering some plants. I got to clean up a bunch of leaves. They're just kind of falling all over the place. Plus, I'm going to be removing all these beneficial bug packs from my plants. I haven't seen any more mites around, haven't seen really any pest issues, but some of my plants are just looking a little bit rough. So yeah, just gonna kind of clean up this area and do some plant chores. I'm kind of separating these into two categories, ones that I'm just watering in the pot or saucer. So this Syngonium 3 Kings, the leaves aren't dusty or dirty or anything like that, so I'm just watering. I'm actually bottom watering this one, gonna let it soak up here for a little bit. And then the other category is ones that I'm taking to the bathroom to spray off the leaves of any dust or debris. Plus these little beneficial mites. I'm just taking all these packs off, like I said, but sometimes there's a little bit of like flakes on the leaves. I don't know if you can see it or not. There's just little flakes on the leaves, little specks that I'm just going to spray off and clean them up. Look at this newest varicosum leaf that just unfurled. It's absolutely gorgeous. It is now, I think, attached. Oops, I just dislodged it, but it was just, whoops, lightly attached to the plank, but I dislodged it. So I'm going to let that remain. When I've been watering these plants, I've only been watering the plank itself, letting the water drip down into the soil here, but what a gorgeous leaf. And they are getting larger with each new leaf. I'm hoping this trails up to the top here soon. Okay, so I just watered this guy, I watered my Hoya, and this Anthurium clarinervium. Just spread off the leaves, they're looking nice and fresh. I'm going to take this jungle cactus and we'll, I think, just give this one some water. So I'm putting it in this little Tupperware container, throwing this out in the trash. Just giving it a good thorough watering. Let that soak through and drain out. Oh, here's a new little growth point. This is the fern leaf cactus. This is a propagated cutting that I took a little while ago. This is a whole new growth here as well. Despite being labeled a cactus, this guy actually likes to be watered quite often, so I don't let it get too dry. Let's put that back there. Look at all these little aerial roots poking out. Here is my Anthurium. This is the Magnificum, I believe. So I'm going to take this one to the bathroom. So this leaf here actually sustained a little bit of damage as it rested. I don't know why it's in there. As it was growing, it actually was like resting on the edge of the terracotta pot, and this area ended up getting damaged. Otherwise, it would have been a fairly decent leaf. As I'm going along, I'm taking my little flashlight and just shining behind the plants for any signs of bugs or pests, spider webs in particular. These anthuriums are susceptible to spider mites. I'm not going to be showing my bathroom because it's an absolutely disaster in there. I need to clean it. But this is what I'm using, this pump action spray bottle. It's quite high pressured or high powered, so I basically just blast the leaves off of any dust or debris and it gets them nice and clean. I did water this a couple days ago, so I'm not going to be watering this soil. And I top dress all of my anthuriums right now with sphagnum moss. Whenever the moss dries out, then I know it's time to water it. But this one I'm going to give maybe a couple days, and then I will water the just on top of the moss, let it drain through, and then again, once it dries out, then you know it needs some water. This is my Anthurium Crystal Hope. This is the newest leaf, and you can see this one is doing the same thing with terracotta. It's resting on the edge of the pot, and it's getting these little deformed areas. Now, these little speckling, a little suspicious of bugs. So I'm going to shine this behind it. I don't see any spider webs or anything like that, so I'm not too sure what that is from. I don't see anything on the leaf itself. I'm not 100% sure if this is the crystal hope or not, or if it's just a forgetii. The forgetii, I have one over here, which I'll show in a second. It doesn't have any lobes up top there, so I'm not too sure of this variety. It was bought on like an auction website just as a small little cutting, like very small leaves. So not entirely sure what it is, but it was labeled Crystal Hope. I can do this one here. Just spray off, whoa, getting water everywhere. This is how I clean it. Just spray off the leaves, rotate it, make sure you get the back. And then I just soak the moss like this till it comes out the bottom of the drain hole. Usually that's all I give it. It's in a well-draining aeroid mix. So just something like that. And that usually does the trick. And I just let it drain out the bottom into my little Tupperware. I'll set that aside. I'm really disappointed with this leaf. Would have been a perfect leaf if it wasn't for a little bit of damage there, just kind of leaning on the pot. Oh well, try and find a way to correct it. Here is another Anthurium clarinervium. This is the first one I had. When I started having thrips, or when I noticed thrips was an issue, I was getting these kind of deformed leaves. This one looks really, really weird. But the newest one came out absolutely perfect. So I'm going to do the same thing, spray this off. Okay, I'm not going to do this for all of them because I'm making an absolute mess of my plant workshop table. But just so you can see, this is how I water my plants. Again, that's coming out the bottom. Set that aside. And you can feel the weight of the pot is quite a bit more than it was a minute ago before it was watered. So, whoops, getting water everywhere. Spray out the leaves, give it a good thorough watering, set it aside. Now I got water everywhere. I have to clean up the floor here as well. I don't really have much workspace anymore. My plant table, my plant workshop table has definitely filled up with some plants. So I may have to start arranging or rearranging some plants. Maybe getting rid of some, I don't know, but I need a little bit more workspace. Now I'm going to work on my smaller little domino peace lily. This thing is absolutely gorgeous. I was never really a fan, or I didn't feel the need to get any peace lilies in my collection because just like most people, you probably say, oh, they're super common, but I saw one at my local plant shop and I've just kind of learned to love them, I guess. They're very easy to care plants. This one you can see is getting a few yellow leaves, so I'm going to chop those off. And what I've been doing for my peace lilies is actually just bottom watering. So the soil is really dry. It's not to the point where it's drooping or the leaves are drooping. So I try not to let it get to that droopy phase just because I don't want to keep underwatering it. Because if you underwater houseplants often enough, that can lead to root rot as well. So you can see I'm getting a bunch of little yellow leaves that, yeah, I'm not watering it enough, or I'm not keeping it well watered. Plus it's in a small pot, so I'm gonna have to keep an eye on this a little bit more closely and not let it get so dry. So I'm just pulling off all the little lower yellow leaves just off of this one and looking, where's my little flashlight, for bugs and pests as well. Making sure I'm not seeing any spider webs, very fine webbing, which I don't see any. I don't see any pests on the leaves as well. So see, I got no room here. Now I'm just gonna fill up the bottom of the saucer here with the plant in it. And just kind of set that aside and let it soak that up. Just gonna shuffle it back to its spot over here. Definitely not going to be getting to all the plants today, but I just want to show you some of the main ones. Like, look at this. This is, what is this again? This Anthurium crystallinum. Yeah, that's it. Look at this leaf. I've been keeping a really close eye on this one, making sure it doesn't have any bugs or pests or anything like that, but also it didn't get any damage from resting on the pot. Oh, it's actually getting a new growth point there too. So this is the propagated cuttings from my recent Hoya perlite prop box video. So yeah, that leaf fell off. There's still the stem in there. I knew this leaf was going to fall off because I think it was turning yellow already, so not a big deal. Props are still doing fine. I'm not going to water it because the soil is still a bit on the moist side. Okay, here is the Philodendron Mame, I believe. Silver cloud, I think it's called. And you can see it's got some nice roots in there. The newest growth point, it didn't unfurl properly, so it got damaged and the leaf ended up dying back. So it was kind of in the period of acclimating to my house as well, but what a beautiful, beautiful leaf. And it's getting some new growth up there. This one, I'm going to just give it some water. It has, like, this is just a plastic drinking cup, but it does have holes or slits in the bottom here for the water to drain out. I just recorded a whole clip without any sound. I forgot to turn one of my mics on. But all I said in those videos is I have this little oscillating fan to help with air circulation for the plants, but it's actually quite nice for me down here as well. Here is my Hoya polyneura that I propagated in perlite and potted up in some soil. A number of months ago, it was really light, so it needed a good thorough watering. I've made a few Hoya videos recently, so if you want to know how to propagate them, I primarily do it with the perlite prop box method, but I know water is successful as well as sphagnum moss, but I just like the perlite prop box. Okay, so it's coming out the bottom. Look at these leaves. These are all single node, single leaf propagations. And, like, there's a few stems in here and they're all getting some new growth. I don't know if you can see it or not, but a little bit of bubbling in the soil. Whenever it bubbles like that, the water bubbles, it means that the soil is really, really dry. So I'm going to soak this one again and just let that soil, let's see if I can catch a bubble. Yeah, it's bubbling back there. Let that soil really soak up the water. Sometimes when you just give it a couple like little light soakings, the soil doesn't, I guess, absorb the moisture and it gets really compact, really hard. So it's nice to, every once in a while, it doesn't have to be every watering, just like keep soaking it so that that soil can retain some of that moisture and it just doesn't run out the sides of the pot. So much heavier right now. And yeah, this one is well watered. Okay, so this section is done. Let's move on to these guys here. Syngonium, it feels a little bit on the heavy side. I can see that the soil probably is about half dry, so you can see at the bottom it's still a little bit damp, but there's some leaves on this one that I'm going to chop off just because it's turning yellow. So I'm not only going to be looking for pests, but I think I'm going to actually, I'll save it for now. I was going to say spray the leaves off, but I don't want to over water this guy. And I don't want it to get any root rot. So I'm just going to see if there's any roots on the side. Doesn't look like it. Just want to make sure there's no like rotting roots on the side. So either they're like I can't see them or the roots are rotting. But I did propagate this one recently. I made the cut right there, and you can see there's a new little growth point popping through over there already. It's getting a few new leaves, so this one's growing well, but I'm just going to be cutting back some of these older dying leaves. So I'm okay with cutting that one back because the new growth point will kind of fill in this area because it looks kind of bare right now. And then I'm going to take this leaf off here as well. So you can pull it off, you can cut it off. I just like to pull it and then throw it away. So this, again, I'm not entirely sure, or I can't be 100% confident, but this is the Anthurium magnificum and one other one, I think crystallinum or clarinervium. It is a hybrid. There's a little yellow leaf right there that I'm just going to pull off. This one is, actually I'm just going to cut this off. It's still in moss, so I have to take it out of the moss here sometime soon, pot it up in a nice chunky soil mix, but oh, it's getting a new leaf. This little guy. This tiny little leaf. Okay, I'm hoping that it doesn't stay deformed like that. But yeah, I gotta repot it up here soon. This is, the pot's too small. I don't like moss. Actually, let's take it out. No, I'm not. I don't want to rip the roots. Here is the Syngonium mottled or mojito. This one needs some water. It's really, really light. I don't want the leaves drying out. Oops, I need water. And this one, I'm just going to bottom water this one in this Tupperware container. So I'm going to fill up just a little bit, kind of like that. Let it sit for probably 15-20 minutes and let it soak up all that water. And then here, see, this is a good example, where's my light, of all that little dust that is left behind from those beneficial mites. I don't know if those are dead mites, like beneficial bugs, or what that is, but I don't see any of the mites moving around anymore. Oh, actually right here. Right there, there's one guy moving around. Let's see if I can get it nice and close. Where did he go? Okay, so these mites are still alive. Oh yeah, he's right up here, right in that area. He's moving around. Now it's not focusing. Okay, I've been keeping an eye out for these mites, but I think I'm still gonna spray it off. Ooh, look at this new leaf. What a beauty. So this is the Anthurium forgetii, and as you can see, there is no lobes at the top, like this crystallinum. It's got those lobes. There's no lobes on these ones. But I am going to spray this off because I am getting a new batch of these beneficial mites this week. Hopefully this week. I put in the order for it. This is a preventative. So I got these bugs to help out with I would say a minor thrip issue in the basement here, but haven't seen any new damage. But I ordered some new mites just as a preventative. And I think they last probably around kind of 6 to 8 weeks, as long as they have, they don't even really need optimal conditions. They just need regular house humidity, like somewhere above 40%, and they should do well. Next up is this rough looking pot of 3 different kinds of Schismatoglottis. This is the Wallichi. I know there's a Thailand and another variety. I took some cuttings off of my other plants back here. They're right down there, just as a little propagation experiment, and they did well. What I did is I divided, so there was some offshoots from the mother plant, and I just cut those off. They had a few little roots, and although these are the original leaves, they're looking really crispy, it is getting some new growth. Oh, okay, that one just fell right off. I'm gonna leave this cut portion in here, like the leaf literally just fell off. The stem and the roots are still in there. I'm gonna leave it alone. But I'm gonna cut this leaf off. These are some of my plants that had thrips, and with thrips, you typically find like yellowing of the leaves first, as well as a little bit of damage or deformed leaves. So this one may have had thrips at some point. So the problem with thrips is that they will lay eggs in the leaf tissue. So although you think you may have gotten rid of thrips because you can't see them anymore, there is a new batch that hatches and just that cycle continues. So that's why you have to repeat your pest control methods, whether that's a spray, whether you use systemic or beneficial bugs. You usually have to repeat that a few times before you get thrips under control. All of these are getting new growth, but I want to cut off these disgusting leaves and let the plant focus on the new growth. I'm going to cut this one off as well and just throw those out. And all I have to do is be patient, because in probably a few months this will be a nice, I don't want to say fuller pot, but it should definitely have a few leaves per plant or per stem. So that will be exciting. Now I'm just going to move a couple of these things aside here. I recently divided my Alocasia Silver Dragon, and you can see it's doing well. It's continuing to push out that new growth point right there. But this leaf is starting to yellow and it's dying back. So I'm going to quickly check with my flashlight here of any spider mite pests. I'm going to cut this leaf off. Check this one as well. So if I shine the flashlight behind the leaf, it usually illuminates those very fine spider webs. I don't see anything on the back side. I don't see any like thrips or anything like that. So this leaf is probably just, it's retiring, and I cut it off. Now I'm going to spray this off, clean the leaves off, and this one, the moss is, it's not crispy, it's dry. It can be watered right now, like I said, it's dry, it's not crispy, but yeah, I'm gonna spray it off, just lightly water it. Gorgeous plant. So this one is in soil. I still have the mother plant upstairs in perlite. Yeah, let's move on. Here's the Dieffenbachia reflector. It's getting a nice new gorgeous leaf. My Dieffenbachias, even though the soil looks dry on top, I actually bottom water these guys, and they do so much better for me. I don't know why, but they don't ever really get crispy edges or anything like that. Plus they do fairly well downstairs here with the higher humidity. It's 65% right now. I don't have any of my humidifiers going. I have one right here as well as one way down there. I haven't had to run them for the last couple days. It's been really hot and humid here in the prairies. There's actually a heat advisory today, I think. These beneficial bugs worked amazing. I don't see any spider mites, I don't see any thrips or anything like that. They did really, really well. Okay, now this Dieffenbachia tiki, it's gorgeous. Just show this. Look at that, stunning. And they do really well underneath these grow lights. So be cautious if you have a Dieffenbachia and you're removing some leaves on it. These are fairly toxic if ingested, and I know you'll probably want to wear gloves if you're doing like any major pruning or anything like that. The sap is, it's very irritating to skin. Don't ingest it. In fact, this is really toxic to children and pets. So if you have these in your home, just be careful you don't have any little ones nibbling on the leaves, because it's quite an irritant to the throat. I think it causes swelling, so that's not good. Here's my little Dieffenbachia sterling, or green magic. The mother plant, ooh, look at that. The mother plant had thrips. It really didn't do well in the location I had it upstairs. I took a small little cutting, and it's taken a while. Like, it's probably been this size for, I would say, at least a year. But I have it just in, let's say, lower light. It's not underneath the, like directly underneath the grow light, but, and here is a Dieffenbachia camouflage. This one is super light, so I'm actually going to give this one some water. And all I do is I just fill up the little saucer at the bottom here. I'll let that soak up, and if the pot still feels really light, then I will fill it up again. So maybe once or twice I'll fill up the saucer right to the top. Sometimes if the plant is really thirsty, you can actually see the water level going down, and I think you can actually see it with this one. Like, I filled it to the top and it's already below the lip. Sometimes these plants just, I don't know, just they just suck it up. Butt chugging, that's another term that I've heard, and I think I've seen some shirts with little plants saying, yeah, bottom water butt chug. I love it. Okay, here's my Alocasia Frydek. Looking good. I'm gonna clean these leaves off. I'm gonna take it in the shower and spray it off. Look at this leaf. I just sprayed the front and the back off, but now I'm gonna give it some water. And this one, again, just soak it thoroughly until it starts just lightly dripping out the bottom of the drain hole. Okay, this black velvet, look at the base. It is chunky. This leaf is starting to fall off, so I'm just going to help it along because it's getting a new leaf There. Most times just peel it off. This one's being a little bit difficult. One little strand here, snip that, and then it should peel right off. Like this. Actually, that leaf wasn't bad. I should have left it on there. Oh well, it's done now. And just peel the rest of this off. Just clean it up. Throw this out. I'm going to have to repot this one in a little bit of a larger pot soon. Look at those nice roots. That's why I love using these clear pots. You can check out the roots. So it's not root bound yet. Looks like it's getting a new little growth point there. New leaf coming in as well. Now it's time to spray off the leaves. I've never seen an Alocasia black velvet with these cup-like leaves. Everyone else has very flat leaves like this Cuprea. But this one, for some reason, has these little cups. So you have to be very careful when spraying off the leaves with this one, which I don't think I'm actually going to do that. I'm just going to leave it. I don't want them to get any rot or anything like that. But I think they're pretty cute. Look like little cups, little saucers. I just cleaned off the leaves on the varicosum. Look at this, just absolutely gorgeous. Now, when I water this plant, or when I water my plants on planks, I'll take my little spray nozzle and I'll just wet the back of the board so the aerial roots will latch onto the wood plank. The water drains down into the soil, just like that. I'm gonna remove this little pack here as well. So yeah, look at that. It looks absolutely gorgeous. And I have it rotated so it's coming out the bottom of the drain hole. They have little slits on the sides too. So this one, I pay attention to the soil on the side as well as the weight of the pot. And this saucer needs to be cleaned. Okay, just rinse that off quick. There. I got one more plant and that's it. This one right here, I'm not entirely sure. I think it's a Melanochrysum. It may be a Gigas. I think it's a Melanochrysum, but this one's on a plank as well. Let's see. It is latched on. Oops, dang it. I did it again. Okay, I'm gonna take this pack off. Like that. And then the leaves look okay, so I'm just going to water the plank. Spray it off a little bit. I gotta clean off my table anyway, so. Okay, here's the cleaned up plant table. I think it looks really good, fresh and clean. All nice and tidy. So I think that's gonna be pretty much it for this video. If you have any comments or questions, please leave it down below in the comment section. Thanks again for watching, everyone. Take care. Bye.